boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. I'm in here with my co-host, been here with me since day one, the OG of the show, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. What's good? Spread Astaire, how are you today?
Man, it's an exciting time in the sports world. Of course, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, but the talk of the wagering world is the NFL draft. We were talking about it a little, and I said we got to hit record and get all these thoughts out here for the people. So we'll talk NBA first, but the NFL draft is on the forefront of everyone's minds. What were your major takeaways from last night? Because I got a lot to say when you're done.
That draft just reminded me once again that the NFL is one of the last, I'm not going to say last, it's just one of those companies that still and forever remain to be one of those old boys networks. It's all about conforming. If you're not willing to conform for the NFL, they're going to try to, leave you out of the party. You're not going to be able to join their league. And they showed that yesterday. It's just really sad when we know we've been watching Shedeur Sanders and anticipating him being drafted the last two seasons. You watched a lot of tape after me because I've told you about him, and that made you go do your own research. The kid was phenomenal, like with no blocking, no run game, and made some of the best throws that we've seen from the pocket in a long time in college football. To me, he was ahead of a lot of guys I've seen in college play from the pocket. And man, for some reason, it still wasn't good enough. And I think that a lot of the symbolism that we saw was when you saw Cam Ward. Cam and Shedeur are real tight, so I don't know if Cam's PR team was smart enough to do this or his parents. Cam was dressed down. He had on like a regular suit, almost a off the rack suit. You could tell it wasn't anything fancy, it wasn't expensive. White t-shirt under there. He got the Miami emblem on his suit, even though we know he's went to two different schools prior to that. So he made the GMs feel comfortable about drafting him because he came in there humble and he came in ready to work and looking like a worker. Shedeur, on the other hand, has the skills, has the talent, but he came in as a boss. He came in as a person who's telling them what he expects from the franchise as well as what he expects from himself. He's not wearing a suit. He's wearing what he likes to wear, kind of like I do, hoodies, designer hoodies. He might have a chain on, have some nice sneakers on. That's where he's from. That's his style. His dad, that was his style. He still rocks and moves that way to this day. Really just, it's a black culture thing. That's kind of like how black successful guys dress, right? So the thing is, the NFL said, this is what we want in Cam. Forget who you are, become a severance worker. You ever watched the show Severance on Apple before?
I've
Spread.
seen season one. I haven't watched season two yet, but
You
I
know
know
how they
exactly what
have
you're
where
talking about.
everyone's just a
Yeah.
model worker? That's the thing
Mm-hmm.
the NFL wants. They want you to put on your suit, put your head down, don't say much, and go to work. And then you have guys like Shedeur who's saying, I want to do it my way. I'm still going to get the work done, much like his father did. His father did it his way, was called out for doing it his way. The only difference is his dad ran a 4.2. So because his dad ran a 4.2, it wasn't any sensible reason why not to draft him early. With Shedeur, they changed the goalpost. Shedeur's father played a little quarterback growing up. He saw that Shedeur took a liking to playing quarterback and made sure from day one that he concentrated on the skills that make you an NFL quarterback. Pocket awareness, uh, work the pocket, know how to check down, throw catchable balls, throw guys open, throw window passes, back shoulder passes, accuracy. These are all the things that are the blueprint of Shedeur's game that Coach Prime has been working on developing so that he would be a good pro since he was in high school. That's why he worked with Tom Brady. That's why he worked with other quarterback coaches, right? That's why he had pros around him in the building. Now he gets to the point of being drafted because they don't like the kid. They don't like what he represents. They don't like that he won't conform to what they want him to be. then we're gonna just leave you out the parties. If you don't want to, humble yourself and you don't want to put on a suit, you don't want to, do things. You're not that talented. We can do it without you. That's what they're trying to prove and show with Shador. I think at the end of the day, he's still gonna have an excellent career, depending on his landing spot. We're hoping that he lands with the Raiders at number 6 in the second round. That would be just a great job by Tom Brady maneuvering, because they were aware that Ashton Genty was a much more prized position to people. It was kind of like they kind of colluded against Shador. I think it's one of those things, kind of like how when they blackballed Iverson from the league, it's like, don't sign him, don't sign him, don't sign him. And all these GMs, they're just like district attorneys and lawyers, man. They go to lunch together, they're friends, even though they do business together. So they all know each other. So they kind of colluded and left Shador out. But it's okay. The Lord doesn't make mistakes, and it'll all work out to the benefit. But what I took from yesterday's draft was that the NFL is still the shield, and it's going to always be a place that is going to remind you that it represents the old guard, the old boys network, and that they have the power to control what's going on with you. But what I really found strange was not only did they use Cam as symbolism by making him dress down, because I know Cam Ward is from Houston and I've seen him off the set. He wears chains just like Shador. He wears hoodies just like Shador, all of that. But they had to have him as the model citizen. So he did that for them to show the polar opposites. Like, yeah, see, we're not racist. We drafted this black guy. He went number 1. So I think that most of this stuff is just based on not liking a kid who's confident, not liking a kid who doesn't want to conform, not liking a kid who wants to do it his own way. They want you to do it their way. But his father has already did that path before and was successful doing it. And I think that he will be successful doing it as well. And it will end up being a much bigger blessing for him at the end of the day, because once again today, just like the last month, seen every sports talk show led with Shador doesn't go in the first round. He's not the first guy to drop. Lamar wasn't the headline story for the next day. Leading up to the draft, no one was talking about where's Lamar going. When he failed, it was kind of like, wow, he failed. And it just happened to go that way. But this is the number 1 story in sports, is about the humbling of Shador Sanders. You know what I mean? So Coach Prime went kind of through a similar thing, but as I said, he had a 4.2 40 and didn't play quarterback, so he was still drafted. But I think the Shador is going to be okay. And like I said, just a reminder that a lot of things have changed in the country, but the NFL is going to always be the shield.
So I agree with everything you said. Rather than repeat it, I'm going to just take it a step further. What I took away from it, so I don't know if you guys watched NBA Rundown yesterday. You guys know I hurt my foot. I'm resting. I'm going to be fine, but last night, I was, normally I like to move around while I'm doing stuff, but I wasn't. I'm on my phone and I'm texting with people. And, and I've talked about this before with the NBA media. And you remember I've said the NFL would never let an old player like Shaquille O'Neal get on there and constantly denigrate their product the way that these guys on TNT do and some of the other old heads. They wouldn't allow it. And I even took it one step further. And where I'm going with this 5-star is I was looking through the Twitter pages and the subreddits of all these individual teams, right? Like subreddit for the Steelers, subreddit for the Saints, all these players. And I could not believe how effective the NFL was in their messaging. Every single one of these teams' fan bases was celebrating when their team didn't pick Shador Sanders. I saw the Saints fans celebrating. I didn't get it. You want to go back to the season with Derek Carr?
A certain segment.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, look how effective they are at spreading their message, because they got almost every single fan base to not like this kid. What, 72, 74% completion percentage? What are we doing here in the NFL?
All-time greatest completion percentage in college football history at lowly Colorado, who had won one game before they showed up.
And they're going to talk about arm strength. Hey, you know what? You're right. Will Levis can throw the ball a lot farther than Shador Sanders and a lot faster. How's that working out for him? Right? Zach Wilson. The kid's got a cannon. How's that work out for him? There's more to NFL. You're not a relief pitcher. This isn't just about throwing gas, right? And getting out there and throwing 98 for 3 outs. I am actually shocked at how effective the NFL media was in convincing all these fans that they don't want this kid at the most important position. And some people were upset, Spread, why were you disappointed in the Genty pick? And I just said, well, I mean, I think he's going to be a great player. And I'm excited. I was telling my buddy who's a Raiders fan, hey, I'm at least excited to come watch week 1 with you, even if I don't think that we're going to go, 12-5 and make, the AFC championship game. At least he's going to be fun to watch. But we saw with Saquon Barkley and the Giants, you can be an elite running back and you don't change your team. A quarterback changes your franchise. A quarterback is just as important as the other 52 guys. That's how important the quarterback is. And, I'm really surprised that at this game-changing position, all these – and everyone goes, because I kept saying Sanders was going to go high and that this and that, and go, well, NFL GMs agree with me. I go, yeah, they all passed on Lamar Jackson too. So let's see how that turned out.
All of them are just exactly what you said. It was a great smear campaign, and we don't know if the smear campaign, it's going to always work out for the better because hate only motivates. So it's going to work out for the better regardless. But we know that either this was literally a strategy by the powers that be in the NFL, the GMs and the scouting departments, or maybe it was Tom Brady and his genius, pulling a move like this to try to make it where he could fall to a spot where they could benefit the most after, turning people off on him. And then now he ends up, well, I still get the pick that I wanted in the first round, in the second round. Or the Browns maybe also.
If you told me there was a chance as a Raiders fan I could have Genty and Sanders and not have to trade up, I would just say that you're crazy. So
that's what I'm telling you. So that's
it might work out well.
That's what I'm hoping and praying it works out is that way, because that would be fabulous for not only you.
Because I do want to see him go and develop. He's actually to me, it's actually more pro ready than Cam, but I think that it would be really good for him. Look at some of these other players. Jordan Love, a player that I think really benefited. And I would say Sanders is more pro ready than Jordan Love was. He's
more pro ready than you ought to see the list of guys they have that they're saying is the better quarterback class next year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. Drew Aller, freaking Cade Klubnik, Lenoris Sellers, they're just thinking of anything. So it was a great campaign, but what they showed, the great point that you made, Spread, is that they showed the power of social media and how you can control minds and have people, all of these people on there saying this kid is sorry he can't play, and I know none of them watch Colorado play. None of them watched him play. They have not watched. I've watched Shedeur Sanders every snap he's played in college football since Jackson State. Do you remember when he was playing at Jackson State on the show? I told you, Spread, this kid's a pro guy. He's a pro quarterback. Even if he stays a little Jackson State, he's going to be like Steve McNair. They're going to still draft him to the NFL. At the time.
And if he's such a distraction that they're all worried about, because that's half the things. I don't want that circus. I don't want that distraction. Why do all his teammates at Colorado like him?
They love him. He started his own NIL out his own pocket that he makes from, he makes millions already from social media, from his different sponsorships he got with TB12, with Nike. This kid is swimming in dough. I'm sure he has a ridiculous trust fund that his dad has for him, so he has money. So for him wanting to play, it's only because he cares about football and loves football. But he's loved in Colorado so much because he started the NIL for them. He was instrumental in recruiting every player that they have there that's a big name. He's the only reason Travis Hunter followed Coach Prime, because his relationship with Shedeur is so tight that he wanted him to be his quarterback. So he's done so much for so many people. I know this kid has to feel like the whole world hates him, and it's a lot for a young man to deal with, man, for just being yourself. And I know how it feels, not at that skill, but I was one of those type of people. As you see now, Spread, you know me really well. You know how I move. I'm going to be myself. If you either going to respect me for what I know and my skills, or you're going to look at me and say, oh, he's a thug, and not talk to me. And if you look at me and say, oh, he's a thug, good for you. I don't want to talk to you no way, because that lets me know how your mind is. You already have an innate bias anyway towards people. I compared going to the NFL and what they did with Cam Ward and made him versus Shedeur yesterday. Two friends that they made through PR, through social media, go completely different trends. Cam is a shit talker. I know Cam Ward, bro. All you gotta do is watch his videos. He's way more rough around the edges than Shador. Shador is a suburban good kid that just likes to wear chains and rap. He's almost like cosplaying a hood guy. Cam Ward is really from around the way. He's really a gangster. You know what I'm saying? He's around gangster dudes. His whole family is a lot of dudes that's in the streets in his family, right? But they showed you that if you conform, you put on a suit and you're a good little worker, we can make you the number one guy. No one will even notice any of that stuff. But if you try to play outside the rules and do it your way, we're going to destroy you. And that's pretty much all that we saw, man. It was just like, it was almost like the guys who hated Coach Prime for pulling that stuff off 30 years ago. It was like, now it's the son. We're going to get him since we couldn't get you. You got through the cracks. We're not going to allow this to happen. It would be crazy if I told someone, all right, to be on the wagering world, all my guests, when you come on, you have to put on a gold chain. They'll be like, what? You have to go buy a gold diamond encrusted chain and put it on your neck, or you cannot be paid at this company. They'll be like, man, are you crazy? But yet and still, they tell these young men every day, in order to play football or to be quarterbacky, you have to put on a suit. You have to say stuff that you don't even mean. That's another thing that drives me crazy about America. Like, you guys love to congratulate and celebrate lies. Like, if I get in front of a camera and the reporter's asking me a question and I tell the truth, I'm crucified. If I just say quarterback talk, oh, what a great teammate, knowing this shit's a lie. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole bunch of different levels and layers to this stuff, man. But at the end of the day, I think that it's going to always work out. And people who are all on the internet trolling people, now, they upset my whole morning. I lost like 2 tennis matches. My wife rolled over the bed and was like, babe, what's wrong with you? Like, put the phone down. Get off there. I was so
You need to.
I was upset, Spread.
Let me jump in, and I'll steal a point from you because you made this on Twitter yesterday, and I want to reinforce it so that people watching the show, if they're smart enough to stay off social media and not take all that negativity in, there needs to be a 30 for 30, how social media turned a generation of sports fans into haters. You pointed this out last night. For everything we say about Cam Ward, it's a great story. He's a great young kid. The Tennessee Titans should be excited. What is 95% of the news today? Celebrating Shador's downfall. Is there any? I've seen one from a Tennessee writer, Paul Kaharski, celebrating the story of Cam Ward and how he went from a 0-star recruit coming out of high school to the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. It should be an uplifting story. And instead, the America that we are now is all haters. All we want to do is laugh on this kid's downfall. And he's going to end up getting the last laugh, in my opinion, because he's going to end up being a really good pro. And I'm really disappointed in that. Your final thoughts on Cam Ward, and then let's get to the rest of the draft so we don't do an hour on Shador Sanders.
Yeah, because we could talk forever about the draft. Yeah, he already won in life because when he wakes up, he's Shador Sanders, man. He was blessed enough to be born into an affluent family that's faith-based and a dad that loves him and teaches him right and, you know, has been with him since day one. A lot of people would long for that. And it's just that what we see is through social media, it's a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, man, a lot of losers, and everyone doesn't deserve a platform spread. And so with them doing the social media
a lot of times it would be a lot of times the tweets you're reading, that would be when we were growing up, the homeless man on the corner just yelling in the clouds, right? About a bunch of crazy stuff. And you would just walk on by, maybe throw a little dollar in his cup. Sorry, you're having a hard life, man. Now those same people, because they're not doing anything, have 2,000 tweets a day and 100,000 followers.
Their whole life is just trolling spread and trying to make life miserable for others, man. And real quick before we get off the draft, though, I want to know.
Well, I want to talk more about the draft. I just want to talk about other players.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about that.
So next thing, Travis Hunter, great player. I think he's going to do really well in Jacksonville. I also think the Jaguars gave up a little bit too much there. Next year's first-round pick, this year's second, seems pretty rich for a player for a non-quarterback. What did you think? I mean, I'm not saying that I think Travis Hunter is going to be great, and I think he's going to do really well in that system. The only question is the compensation there. Do you think the Jaguars gave up too much for Travis Hunter?
We'll see. If he becomes a Hall of Fame player, which he might very well so become, then no, they didn't. Because we got to realize, and I really like their head coach, Liam. Is it Liam Cohen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like his approach. He's a young guy, he's understanding you got to make a splash, and he's looking at it the way you're supposed to. Like, man, wait a second. Nobody talks about Jacksonville. We're in a smaller market. Nobody gives a damn about the team. We need to make a splash. So he went and got on everyone's board probably the number one player, in the draft. It's out of him and Abdul Carter. A lot of the scouts are saying, like Lance Zierlein. He actually put Genty. Lance told me Genty was his number one rated player. So the Raiders did well. And he also told me that he believes the Raiders are going to take Shedeur today. So that would work out really good for the Raiders if it went that way. But I do think that they gave up something. But I'm the type of person, I've always been like that. Who cares about stock and draft picks? Who knows if those draft picks are going to even turn to something that you're going to use? Like, I'm more into let's get the player out here that we can use right now, and Travis is ready to go. Whether they want to put him outside of receiver, he gives another weapon for Trevor Lawrence. He can play some slot for them, slot cornerback as well. So I think that it was a great pick, and I think that the thing that we should see most of all from that story with Travis Hunter is another great story. Number one rated high school guy coming out, takes a liking to Coach Sanders, becomes really close with Shedeur Sanders, tells Coach Prime, I'll follow you anywhere in the world, wherever they hire you. Go to Little Jackson State instead of going to Florida State. Everyone's like, what the hell is this kid doing? He's destroying his life. But he based everything on his faith and his belief in what Coach Prime was telling him, because he knew Coach Prime was a good man and meant him well. How did it work out? Coach Prime goes to Colorado, leaves Jackson State strictly for Shedeur and for Travis Hunter. That's what people don't realize. He didn't do that for himself, man. He did that for them, to give them a stage to show their talent to people on a bigger stage where they could, get a chance of what's going on right now, to win the Heisman, to go to the NFL draft and be drafted second. And so everything worked out beautifully for Travis Hunter by trusting Coach Sanders, man. And now he's going back home to the area of the world he's from, to his favorite NFL team, and he's going to be a star there and about make a lot of money, be the face of that franchise. And it's all because he had faith and saw a bigger picture. Everyone wants to do things with immediate gratification. That kid had a plan. He saw it through, and it all worked out for him. And that's why I have no worries about Shedeur either, because I know what type of mentor Coach Prime is.
All right. So yeah, the only argument about is whether they gave up too much, but barring injury, there's no way Travis Hunter doesn't make a positive impact from them for day one. And then the final thought I have about that is that kid Gladstone, their new GM, who's only 35 years old, he came from the Rams, right? Who were successful targeting players that they wanted and not worrying about draft implications, because that's happened before. I remember as a Raiders fan, we traded for Khalil Mack and we got all these first-round picks. We traded Khalil Mack and got all these first-round picks. Well, guess what? We blew the picks. Right? So even though it said it was a good trade for the Raiders because we got all these picks, it doesn't matter unless you execute it properly. Abdul Carter to the Giants, I don't have much to say about that except for I think the Giants could be a sneaky team next year. That's a really good defensive line. Will Campbell to LSU, I'm surprised that people are down on him because of arm size. Go watch the kid's tape. The kid is you can't find a snap where he's loafing. He's trying really hard, and he finishes every play. And awesome. I really like him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I think that's
Monroe,
great.
Louisiana, boy. Never high school.
Yep. I think that's a great pick there. Mason Graham. I can understand why Jacksonville did that. I think that there was a clear tier of those top four players, and then Graham's a step below. I think he's going to be a great player for Cleveland, though. And I also think that they did a good job stockpiling picks because they were more than one player away from being a good football team. So hopefully Mason Graham, I think he should do well there as a tackle. and pair well with Myles Garrett. Let's see what Cleveland's doing there. We've talked about Genti already, Membu. I think McMillan's going to be great on the Panthers. What do you think of Kelvin Banks going to your New Orleans Saints there, 5-star? Because I was excited about him. I read a lot about him, but I also read some negative, and it was almost the opposite of Will Campbell, that there was times on the tape where you could see him kind of taking plays off, not finishing plays off, getting a little lackadaisical. Are you excited to have Kelvin Banks as the New Orleans Saints?
Mickey Loomis, man, he's fallen off drafting. He is not drafted as well as he did when Sean Payton was there because unlike the Steelers, I was talking on X about that, about Mike Tomlin has no pull, no say in that organization. He's just a worker, man. He's pretty much just a freaking overseer because he never has anything involved with personnel, and you could tell because he wanted Malik Willis. Did they get Malik Willis? No, they got Kenny Pickett. He wanted Shedeur Sanders. Did they get Shedeur Sanders? No, they took Hammond. He has no say at all. And you remember that one of the main reasons why Bill Parcells left the Giants is because, what did he say? If I'm cooking the food, I need to have some say in the ingredients, right? So that was the problem why he left the Giants. And now the Giants are still doing the same stuff, and the Saints are one of those organizations as well where the coach usually doesn't have much say, but we know Sean Payton's type of approach and how an aggressive guy he is, and he knows his worth and what he did for that franchise. So he was able to affect the drafting a lot for the Saints. But now, not so much, because I just can't believe that Kellen Moore with Derek Carr not playing this season, unless he believes in Spencer Rattler, which makes sense because Spencer Rattler is a young kid. He hasn't had a lot of snaps. Huh?
I guess.
You don't like Spencer Rattler? He hasn't had a lot of snaps.
Not really.
I think Spencer Rattler can play, man. I just think he hasn't had a lot of snaps. Is he good as Shedeur? I don't think so, but he has.
I don't think he's even close. I don't think it's even close.
He don't have an arm.
I think Sanders could step in and raise your ceiling by 3 to 4 wins right off the bat.
Yeah, he could with the right system.
For the Saints.
Accuracy alone. Yeah, just off accuracy alone because he's never had any, secure blocking. So definitely that. But as far as the Saints, man, I'm waiting to see what they do in the second round. I think that their goal is really to crash out. I think they really want to try to figure out a way to get Arch Manning next year. That would be
that could be it too. And yeah, I mean, even if Kelvin Banks isn't an All-Pro, I do think he's going to be a solid tackle. You drafted what's his name, Falua last year. You got bookends. I think it's a good way to start the team. It's just whether or not the evaluation was correct, because I did read some interesting scouting reports on him and maybe doubting, his tenacity there on the field.
I think that very much because Texas didn't really maul people at the line. LSU did. So I can definitely see that. And it's just another example to me with that whole situation of just people in the NFL, they have a certain way of doing things. That's the way they do it. Mm-hmm. That kind of leads me to the Giants.
Let's go straight to that. I mean, 10 through 20, you can say Loveland was a reach, but I'm not really that. You and I talked about it. Yeah, I don't think it was.
Michigan played, even though he didn't have any quarterback last year, he still was a really good player. When he had a quarterback, really shined. He's a good player, and with the type of coach that they have over there with the Chicago Bears, he's going to utilize him. He has a plan for him. That's the reason why he drafted him that early. He definitely has a plan.
Yeah, and I think he fits better with Kmet than Tyler Warren would have, even though I like Tyler Warren as a prospect a little bit more. I think the fit there is better. I don't think he's that much less talented. Let's fast forward.
Spread the seam a little bit more than Warren can.
Yeah, I think so too. A bunch of good picks there in the middle. I can't really argue with any of them. Seems like each team attacked their needs and got quality players until we get to pick 25 5-star. What are the Giants doing? Jackson Dart? That's fine drafting him. How do you draft him in the first round over Sanders? Unbelievable. What are you seeing on this film? Let me go back to those ones I talked about earlier. Zach Wilson, Rex Grossman, right? Okay, great. You got an arm. Let's see you actually play football. I cannot believe the New York Giants, man. I was so excited for them. Abdul Carter, you mix him with Thibodeau and Burns, right? I mean, this is going to be a great defensive line. They're kind of mimicking the Eagles. This team's going in the right direction, and then they draft Jackson. And if they just took him with their own pick in the second round, it would be fine. But to trade up for him, I was shocked. What were your thoughts?
The Giants are an old school company that want company men. So Jackson Dart probably interviewed. He's a hunter. He's a fisherman,
Right?
good old boy. Chuck Morrow, I like this kid. We can go to the Poconos and go hunting. That type of situations. That's all it is. Old boy networking, they buys. It's no way in hell you supposed to move up to take Jackson Dart. Even if you like him, Colin just was saying on the show that they could have stayed right where they were at and got him still in the same place second round because nobody was beating down the door for Jackson Dart. Shador hadn't even left yet. So they staked their claim, the same thing they did with Danny Dimes when they moved up for his trash ass. These guys, some organizations just are horrible at quarterback. And then others like the Giants, they have a model for quarterback. They look at their quarterback as just another player. You talked about it last week about they come from Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler. And then think about that, Danny Dimes. And then they go with Eli Manning. They're all just the same type of bland, blah quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as he can hand off the ball good, he'll work for us, and he looks the part. So that's what it's about. I saw extensive film on Jackson Dart. I've been watching. I couldn't believe it when people started saying he was going to be drafted. I thought he was like a 5th or 6th round experimental guy. I would have went with the kid from Texas over him. Like, I would have.
Really? Ewers?
Yes, I'll take Ewers.
I like the kid's shoe, but maybe that's because of Greg Cosell.
Bro, I've watched. Ewers can make any throw. Ewers is a lot like my comp from him is Jay Cutler. He doesn't have good body language, but he can throw the ball all over the field. Has a great arm, great touch, especially on deep ball. Jackson Dart can't do anything good on the field, man, but scramble around, and his speed is not going to look the same in the NFL. We've seen this a million times before. Baker Mayfield was a much better athlete than him in college. And how does Baker look? He doesn't scramble much anymore because he just doesn't have the speed to separate from these defensive linemen and linebackers. Jackson Dart played his best games against lower level competition. He was trash in the SEC against all of the top tier teams. I still remember one Saturday morning when I took Ole Miss first half against Georgia. He stunk it up so bad.
I remember that. I was on that with you.
I was so ticked at him, but he got hurt or played like he got hurt. It was something small like an ankle, and he went out crying and sat out a series. The next series, Austin Simmons, left-handed kid for Ole Miss, who's going to be dynamic next year for Lane Kiffin, marches them right down the field. I'm talking about he's throwing bullets, running the hurry up. They score. Now the confidence is going for Ole Miss. We end up winning the first half. Jackson Dart, sorry ass, after everything's calmed down, sneaks back in the game and kind of just holds it down after that. But they're drafting him kind of like, remember, with Wilson, they based it off that throw he made in the combine thing at BYU. This one, they're drafting Jackson Dart off of one play he made against Duke in a bowl game when Duke had 50% of their starters sitting out. He rolled to the left and rolled back right and threw a bullet down the sidelines. But it's just innate bias, man. It's no way in hell Jackson Dart is better quarterback, plays the position better than Shador Sanders does. And the Giants will just have to suffer for their choices like they've been doing lately.
Yeah. One other takeaway from last night, 5-star. Just watching that event. It is insane to me that many people go to watch a bunch of names get called. Like I told my buddy, there's no chance of seeing a one-handed Odell Beckham catch, right? There's no chance of seeing a great alley-oop or a dunk like when we all go to these sporting events. I could not believe how many people were at where I don't even know. They held it at Lambeau, but it was like in the parking lot. I don't even know what was going on. There was so many people there, right? This is for a draft, just to watch names get called. After that, I turn on game 3 between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's a playoff game. The arena's like a quarter full to start.
Yep.
I go, the NBA's got to do something with urgency because they can't even get people to show up to their playoff games. And I got,
Well, it's the
90,000
pulse
people
of
in
the
a
country,
parking lot
Fred.
dressed
It's
up.
it's the pulse of the country why it's like that. NBA is not popular, and it's not popular because it's one of the sports that still is kind of like, got a lot of minorities in it, a lot of minority coaches, a lot of movements that they back, and they allow their players freedom of speech when it comes to political topics and stuff. And it turns off the mainstream of America, who are the consumer market, or at least what they tell us are the consumer market. And so the
Yeah.
NFL is much better because not only does it have minorities watching it, but it has the white guy watching it, the great American white guy who loves the NFL because stuff like they did with Shador, they put him in his place. So
Yeah.
it's going to always be like that, man. NBA is going to suffer. And we
Well,
know
I
that.
also think a lot of people in my age group, speaking as a white guy, in the middle-aged white guy, they're turned off by the fact that these guys denigrate what we grew up with. You never see
Yeah.
that in the NFL.
Yeah.
I dare you to find a player going, Walter Payton could have run in our day,
Yeah,
Joe
that is another
Montana
thing.
would be
Yeah.
would be a backup, right? I heard Kareem Abdul would come off the bench. Stop, guys, just stop. I
And
think a
then
lot of people are turned
it's
off by
all
that too.
about conforming
It's
again.
both ways too. Shaq hates on the new ones, and the new
Yeah.
guys hate on the old thing. You never
Yeah.
hear that in the NFL. You'll hear guys going, I was watching Y.A. Tittle, and I picked up a couple things, right?
Yeah, that'd be like, man, he's a great, like Drew Brees and Brady talk so highly about each other and Manning
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But all this stuff boils down to still the same thing: conforming. That's the topic of
yeah,
this show. It being able to conform. People like yourself and a lot of white guys who like the NBA back in the game, they love Jordan and they respect Jordan. You know why?
yeah.
Jordan looks like the typical businessman. He has on a suit,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just going in there and he's speaking, thinking before he speaks, and he's moving right, in their opinion. Then you look at LeBron, they don't like LeBron. When you ever seen LeBron in a suit? He don't do all that.
Right,
He gonna
right.
have on a hoodie, he gonna have his Louis bag. He's with the culture. So it's just a lot of cultural shit going on in America right now. And even though I love a lot of the policies on the reason why the current administration were coming in, you and I both talked about that. It benefited us as business owners. It also set up where it's more of the stuff we saw from the previous regime, where now it's like a whole bunch of I'm on this side, I'm on this side, instead of it being we're all together.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. This is my way to try and transition to the NBA. And before we get into breaking down some of these games this weekend, I want to talk to you as a Houston sports fan about Jaylen Green, right? We talk about polarizing players and Shedeur Sanders. Doesn't it feel like Jaylen Green is very polarizing as well, where like we can't celebrate when he does things well? And you retweeted something after game one, and I don't think it was you who said it. I think it was another Houston sports fan. But they said, why are we all piling on Jaylen Green when our $40 million point guard went 4 of 19? And then I turned on the Action Network, and their guy Matt Moore, who is good. I listened to him for a reason, but he's saying the same thing. Oh, I'll give Fred VanVleet a pass. Why? Why does he get a pass? Because you think he tries harder on defense? Look at Jaylen Green's defense in game 2 and tell me that wasn't key to one of the reasons they won. Yes, he did great on offense, but if they wouldn't have got those stops, that game doesn't turn out that way. So I'm just surprised at why everyone wants to come at this kid so hard for not being a star right off the bat. These guys, I've said it a million times, they come in the league way too early. He should be a rookie like this year. He should have been able to develop some more. And then they're mad because he doesn't come in and light up the league right off the bat. Talk to me about what you've seen from Jaylen Green, and let's get away from these national media haters. How do Houston fans feel about Jaylen Green? Because I think they'd have to be pretty excited about that performance we saw from game 2.
Once again, conforming. Jaylen Green's disliked. He doesn't even get whistles from the refs because they don't like that he paints his fingernails black and he has this wild hair, and it's just the images and what they like. Kind of like him and Ja Morant are real tight. They're kind of, in that same little group of, the new word they use for it is YNs. If you're watching the show, y'all know what it is. It's like these young dudes who just buck and having fun and, doing it a different way. That's why they don't like Jaylen Green. you thought I had some dust ups on Twitter about Shador, but I've had some dust ups about Jaylen, especially after game one. And a lot of it is people who just don't like the kid. When you don't like a person, you're not using common sense or rationale when you're talking about what they've done. You're only making sure that you pounce on the bad things they've done. And all of these people are silent after game two. Now, they were talking so bad about this kid game one. And I just was saying, you know how we approach stuff, Spread. We're bettors. We might lose today. We might win tomorrow. We might lose for a week. We might win for a month. You have to stay even keel. You have to look at the long term because it's a process. All of it's a process. Any successful business works that way. Any successful business person moves that way. So I try to approach it like that. But once again, when you're on X, you're not dealing with people who are successful, who have common sense. These guys are, he sucks. He's ass. He's been in the league 4 years. I get Jaylen. I said, man, this is his first game. He's 23 years old. This is his first playoff game. You were nervous your first day going to work at the plant at 25 because it's a new environment. You know, it's like this isn't something I've done before. So of course you're going to come in a little, hesitant at first. I'm so glad that he clapped back the way he did in game two. Joins an elite group of guys to score over 30 points for the Rockets in the playoffs. And you would be surprised how short the list is. It was Akeem Olajuwon, Elvin Hayes, Moses Malone, James Harden, and one Jalen Green. Jalen Green owns so many records with the Rockets as youngest to do this, youngest to reach this milestone, youngest to reach this milestone. But amongst the fan base, you got the same thing going that we see on a broader spectrum with the world. Some guys just automatically don't like him because the way he looks, so they're looking for every which way to tear him down. And some people, like myself, give him the benefit of the doubt and see the talent. Our fan base is one of the worst infighting fan bases in the history of sports. And for us to have minimal success just getting back on the winning side of things, it's really sad because most guys are either Sagoon guys or Jaylen guys, or it's a couple of our men guys. But most people like our men overall, and they see him as the second piece. But it's a lot of war going on in our fan base about is Sagoon the guy or is Jaylen the guy? Instead of it just being us, it's a lot of we and them. And it needs to stop, man. Because both of these guys are really good. We're blessed to have a really young, talented team. A lot of dogs on that team, and Jaylen is a complete dog. The Rockets are 13-1 this year when Jaylen scores over 30 points. Those games that they won, those 13, go look at the teams that they beat. They were all impressive victories. They were all against playoff teams, top teams in the league. OKC scored 30 against. The Celtics, he scored 30 against. The Lakers, he scored 30 against. The Warriors, he scored 30. All of the top teams is when he plays his best. He does have to get more consistency. He can't go from scoring 7 points one night to 38 another night. So tomorrow, I will be really excited to see if he continues it when they go to Golden State, if he can keep up his hot streak and just show some consistency. I think that's what a lot of the fan base wants to see. But as I told a lot of guys, you're comparing him to Kobe. Kobe had 3 rings by the time he was Jalen Green's age. No, I'm not comparing Jalen Green to Kobe, even though he does have a lot of his traits. If you watch young Kobe play basketball like I did, instead of watching when he was 10 years in the league and already was a champion and was already great, if you saw his development, you'll see a lot of the problems that he has are the same ones that Jalen Green is having. And that's being kind of thin. He's going to have to put on some strength like Kobe did. And he's going to have to adjust the plan in the playoffs. Kobe's first playoff game was not successful. And the most memorable thing of young Kobe's career, I know, as a guy who was following Kobe and a fan of his as a kid, he lost to Utah by shooting the ball. What he shot, 2 or 3 straight air balls when it mattered spread at the end of that game, right?
Yep.
And when he shot it, remember the same way everybody laughing at Shador right now, it just wasn't social media. It was just, people talking. Everybody was laughing at Kobe. That's all they were talking about. He sucks. Told you he wasn't going to be because Kobe's a very confident kid. And he came across and rubbed people the wrong way because he believed in himself. And so Now everyone's forgotten that because he's had the plane crash and unfortunately lost his life at a young age, and now he's a martyr. So everyone kind of feels, bad about the story, and now they're big Kobe supporters. But I remember when people were talking major shit about Kobe when he was in this stage of his career that Jaylen's in. Yeah, Jaylen's 4 years older than he was during his first playoff game, but that's just because the organization wasn't successful enough to get to the playoff game. It doesn't stop the fact that this is a 23-year-old kid that played his first playoff game. Whether you're 19 or 23, it's no different. It's your first playoff game. Second playoff game, he showed everyone why he is one to believe in for the Rockets moving forward in the future. And he's one of those pieces that I guarantee you Emi Udoka will not let go. And he's a guy that he's going to hold on to because he sees what this kid can be.
All right, let's move to the past. Successful week last week, so I'm sure the people will be looking forward to more winners from us today. Tennis crushed it, right? Alexandrova defeated Pegula. It was about a week ago, but do you have any thoughts? About a week ago. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, just a good one for us. Alexandrova motor. We had talked about it. Ski was on the show, and remember, he wanted to go the over on the games, and I told him to be careful on that because Alexandrova had dominated Pegula, was 3-0 against her. The last time they played each other, I think it was the semis. Was it the finals? It was the finals or the semis in Charleston, I want to say. I think the semifinals. She blew the match. Alexandrova lost the first set because, sometimes how she comes out, how a lot of these WTA girls come out. She wasn't focused. She got mowed. Come back second set, wins the second set like 6-4 or 6-3 or something. She had complete control. Early break in the third set and then just lost it and ended up losing the match. She got broke 2 more times and ended up losing. She is a much better player than Pegula. I got respect for Jessica. I feel like Jessica Pegula is one of those players who gets the most out of her talent. So respect.
And what's great about her is she didn't need to.
Yeah,
right? You talked about Sanders not needing money. Yep, she didn't need it either. So I'm inspired by that. Yeah,
it's a lot of tennis players like that. Actually, it's not a lot of tennis players that came from not having any money. It's
right, but a lot of them are just like upper middle class, not like I don't have to work. I can have 7 kids and they don't have to work.
Yeah, Pegula is different. You're right. They got some different. They got some FU money. With Pegula.
I mean, like Ostapenko grew up, in a very comfortable family, but not rich like that, right?
I mean, not rich like that at all.
They don't have drivers everywhere.
Right, but Pegula, like I said, just doesn't have the type of game for Alexandrova when she's right. So we cashed that one plus 135. And today, Alexandrova, I bet her again. She actually beats Danilovic, the young Serbian who had been playing really well on clay.
Yeah, and that's an interesting match because those are 2 players that will both pack it in once they get behind, right?
Yes.
I never take the games with them because they lose the tough first set, they might just pack it in. One thing I want to bring up about Pegula too, and this just comes for one of the reasons why it's harder for me to bet Americans. For us growing up, like Europe is like a destination, right? Like when we think of Europe, we think of vacation, we think of history, we think of museums, we think, right? These European players don't think about America like that.
No, they come sometimes win and get back home.
Yeah. Sometimes these our Americans can kind of get caught up with the other things to do in Europe besides just play tennis. But I do want to talk about this match, and it was so funny. I forgot to send it to you guys. I think someone tweeted Ostapenko might have become the first person ever to beat a number 1 player and to lose to an unranked player in the same week.
Yeah, and I
told Ski about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that was it. It was a great call by us, but I remember Ski was in our group chat saying, "How is this girl not number 1?" And we go, "Wait till she plays someone who sucks."
Wait till then. She was an instant fade, and then So we win with Ostapenko beating Iga. Boy, Iga looked a little shaky spread. She lost that first set to Ela yesterday, and I took Ela to break her on the first game, and in the first set, I believe, and I won, and then I got out the way because I knew Iga was going to most likely come back. She has a really good record in Madrid. She's a clay player, but the little girl, Ela, is more of a hardcore player. But, man, she has to get her mental back together, man. Maybe she needs to get a new sports psychologist because she's having a lot of difficulties in match with holding her serve. But Ostapenko is her kryptonite. I don't know why. Ostapenko plays like the best player in the world every time she sees Iga. I think she's uh, such a funny person. She does it just to agitate Eagle, like like everyone knows Eagle's all serious and wants to win so bad, and I think that it really gives Ostapenko joy just to get out there laughing and beat her. So Ostapenko gets it done for us. I got plus 330. I think you guys got in at like plus 280 or something like that, but I took it as soon as it came on the board. But as I was just like you said, we said in the thread talking to Ski, like, hey man, next week, watch what happens. And I sent it out to a couple people. Hopefully they were smart enough to play it. Me and the group played it. We took Sevastova. What is her name?
It's Sevastova or Sevastova, depending on who you talk
Sevastova.
to.
Yeah. So
yeah, I always call her Sevastova, but I hear Sevastova
yeah, it's
on the odds.
Sevastova. That's how you say it.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's why I had a problem. I used to call it Sevastova, and then
I still do. I don't change it. I don't pronounce it.
I heard I heard an announcer say Sevastova or whatever. So it's Sevastova.
It's funny though, if you have do you have the Tennis Channel add-on where you can watch all of them? Even the announcers say it different.
Yeah,
like you watch a woman in round 1 and then she gets a different announcer in round 2 and they say their name's different. So
yeah, they say Benchik and then they say Benchik and then they'll say Biontech, then they say Swiatek. So yeah, you're right. No one knows, but we did take Sevastova at a lovely price. She was plus 300. I took a 2-0 at plus like 490. It was just fishing, man. The value was too good. They're both from Latvia, so they know each other really well.
And Sevastova always beats her. I think that's a big sister type of deal.
Big sister type, because Sevastova used to be good before that ACL. Like years ago, she was probably I don't say first because Ostapenko did win the French Open, but it was kind of like a miracle run that she had.
Yeah.
Sevastova was known as the #1 player in that region. So yeah, just Ostapenko being Jekyll and Hyde. Now next week she'll come back and play a little bit better.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Let's move over to the NBA, and some of this will go into our series previews. But great call on the Timberwolves in game 1. Not only did they cover the spread, they got the win. Let's save that one because we're going to talk about them a little bit more when we're looking ahead at tonight's game. So let's go to the UFL. Houston Roughnecks plus 7.5 against the Birmingham Stallions. I confess I have not watched a snap of UFL football. What did you
money line? I hit them on the money line. We got a quarterback change during the game that ended up helping us out a lot on that one. Birmingham is not as strong as they were in the past. They actually got a game tonight and they're giving up 12 points against Memphis. I'm going to be looking into that a little bit more. You guys watch for the tweets. I'll tweet out something about that game, about which side.
Yeah, probably more people at that game than at the Memphis Grizzlies playoff game. So football continues to roll. All right, the other two ones that we got right was the play-in. We crushed that as well. Let's not even talk about the games. Let's just talk about the two teams whose season ended and what to expect from them moving forward. The Mavs will be the easy one to make fun of. But let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Where do you think they go from there? I thought Richardson was sneaky good. Same deal. I know he didn't play well in the playoffs, but, first time in the playoffs, I think he's going to develop. What do you think Atlanta should do? Do you think they should try and sell high on Trae Young or continue to build around this current core? Because, they have some pieces there, but there's not a lot of depth. I don't like a team that has Georges Niang and Karis LeVert getting meaningful minutes outside of the regular season. And Okongwu's good. Capella's getting older, but I don't know. I almost think that this team, not that, Trae Young's not a great player, but maybe it's time to sell high on him and try and get some more assets because it just doesn't seem like they're a move or two away from really competing. What do you think?
I think that they dropped the ball last year. Quinn Snyder liked DeJounte Murray more than Trae Young just because he liked size, and he allowed management, because Trae's the guy and he's the face of the franchise, to kind of talk him into, backing up off of pushing DeJounte as the main guys. You saw they didn't play really well together. So they ended up shipping off him to New Orleans. They might should have shipped Trae Young because, as you saw at the end of that game, we had Miami and it benefited us. Trey just isn't good on defense, and it'll be different if he was small but agitated. Because size doesn't matter with effort. He doesn't give a lot of effort, and I don't know if it's because he's just lazy on defense or is he worn out from all the usage on offense as being the guy that has to be the cog. Because I saw Harden with that. A lot of people thought Harden can play defense, and you see now as he's gotten older and had more help after he left Houston, he's a good ass defensive player. People don't remember like you and I do, Spread when Harden was with OKC, his job was to take the best wing. You remember that,
Mhm.
Spread? He
Yeah.
used to hold Kobe.
And
Like,
and he's to me, he's by far the best post defender that's under 6'6". There's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
guard in the league that can defend you trying to back him down better than James
He's
Harden. I
strong as
think that
hell. He's strong as an ox. He
yeah.
has a lot of upper
Hmm.
body strength and lower body strength. But my point is that's how narratives change because Harden was a really good defensive player with OKC. A lot of usage in Houston scoring points, not a lot of effort on defense because he's winded now. I wonder if that what's going on with Trey, but we know Trey does not have the size that Harden has. Harden has great
Mm-mm.
NBA prototypical size. So I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with Trey Young. I know the Rockets, we don't want him. They saying he'll be perfect for the Rockets. So my fan, I'm like, hell no,
No,
he wouldn't. We don't
he
want
wouldn't.
him.
Mm-mm.
No,
Mm-mm.
we don't want him. He's a good player. I respect his
He needs to go
IQ.
be a number two somewhere, like Milwaukee, where
I
Giannis is the man and he could help out.
yeah,
He could be what
Milwaukee.
Dame was supposed to be.
Yeah, he'll be better for them than Dame because Dame was a shoot first guy. So
Yeah,
he'll probably be better for them than he was. But honestly, I think that Trey Young would probably work best with. Probably would have been the Spurs, but now that's gone to your guy.
that's gone. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know where he goes, but he can't stand Atlanta. Like the
yeah.
team is on a
You
whole
know what's
different
funny? Orlando might be a good fit because they can definitely
Orlando.
work around his defensive deficiencies.
Yeah,
Um, I think Detroit, if they didn't have Jaden Ivey, I just don't think they would do it because Ivy's going to fill that same role. I think Detroit would be a good fit. Cade's
he
the
would be
man. You
much
help him
better than
out.
Ivy because what he would bring to their offense is a little bit
There's more
IQ,
shooting.
a little
Yeah.
bit more better, much easier baskets on the offensive
Hmm.
side. They work real hard. It's mostly Cade one on one. So Cade is really a natural two guard. He's a combo guard. He can play point,
Yeah.
but his game is more of a two guard. He really wants to be
Yeah.
off the ball. And
Yeah.
people haven't even seen his full game. I watched Cade since that when he was a kid in Dallas. He really likes to come off the pick and shoot. He can shoot, but he doesn't get a
Yeah.
chance to because Detroit needs him to be the ball handler with Ivy out. So yeah, Trey, I like that a lot actually. Trey the Pistons.
And you know,
Yeah.
one spot, 5 stars, the only Sacramento Kings fan, I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the block if our team made a move for him.
Right.
Needing point guard.
I know he would have to go because his chicks, but at this point, you know what your owner's doing
Yeah,
if
I
he
think it'd be
does
a
that.
terrible fit, but I just think he's the type of guy our
It'll
owner
sell
likes because he
tickets. It'll
sells
sell tickets.
tickets and
Yeah.
yeah,
Sell
and he's
tickets. But
exciting.
he's in a bad spot. But Richard Shades, you said, was a really good draft pick. He's another one of those guys. You talking about Cam Ward going under the radar as number one. He was number one pick. Nobody knows, but he's
Nobody
had a
talked about
solid
him.
year. He's had a
Yeah, I
solid year,
thought so
man.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PG
All
13 is
right.
my comp for him. He's going to be a Paul George type player. I like him.
All right, let's talk about the Mavericks, whose season ended against the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, right, and I've done my fair share of punching down because it's been an easy target. But they are, constantly derided for their front office moves. What can the Mavericks do to turn things around here around Anthony Davis? Kyrie might be back by next year around the All-Star break. So obviously that would be a boost. But in the way that West is that going to be enough? What do you think Dallas can do to kind of fix this malaise that's kind of around their fan base right now that really has a lot of ire towards the front office and the ownership group?
They can go get the guy they traded, Trey Young. We just talked about
Yeah.
that. he might can hold it down until Kyrie comes, but then what you're gonna do? You probably have to move off Kyrie and trade him while he's injured, and that tears up the entire foundation of the whole plan. Because the reason why Cuban kept him in the locker room is because the team was kind of like Kyrie's. Even though Luka was the star, after Kyrie came, the guys kind of more gravitated toward him being the leader of the team. We always talk about who controls the radio. Kyrie came and took over the radio, got the burning the incense around there and stuff. And so it made it where he became that guy. But I think that Nico Harrison is taking the fall for the ownership and people like, he's going to get fired. He's going to get rid of that guy. No, they're not. No, they're not. Nico Harrison is the fall guy. So they can't fire him because he's the one that's taking the bullets for a decision that the ownership made. And he's accepting it, all of the blame and getting clowned. And you can see on his face, this guy's a completely different person now, man. It's like just his face looks so miserable now. He's like, because he's hated and he's probably never been used to that. No one knows GMs. No one knows the guy that runs Nike. Like he was running Nike and being the Mavs GM. Nobody cared about him until now. So now he's facing all of this bad press. All these people calling him dumb, calling him stupid, and he had to sit there and pretend like he doesn't know what's really going on. And we did a deep dive into what really happened with the Mavs and why Luka got traded and how it was much bigger than Nico Harrison. We don't know if the league had something to do with that as well, because the perfect transition from the league going from LeBron league to Luka's league is putting Luka in LA, so all of this stuff is bigger than Nico Harrison, but he's taking the fall for everyone. But as far as their moves next year, they better find a hell of a nutritionist. They better find a hell of a PT guy, because they need to figure out a way to keep Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving healthy in order to make this all make sense. If they're not on the court, then the trade was just dumb. It doesn't make any sense because you just don't move off a young talent like Luka for no draft picks and just a straight up trade for a guy who stays hurt and was hurt again in the playoffs and doesn't even move the same. AD and KD do not move the same. If you've been watching them long as we have, Spread, you know it. They're not fluid anymore. They're old. They got back problems. Their joints are hurting. They just were really fluid athletes. AD in his prime was so smooth and fluid. He's rigid now, man. KD is the same way, and it's just wear and tear on their body. So the trade wasn't a good trade. Like a lot of veterans on that team know maybe they could do like Clay. Clay did a really good job this year of being a vet that was ready and prepared and played most of the games and didn't miss a lot of games and played really well at doing his role. Now he needs AD to play his role as a superstar, maybe one last push just this summer, man. Stay up off the bad food, get yourself together, stay in the gym. One last push for greatness by AD. And then, as you said, still, we don't know how long Kyrie will be out with that injury. And then another thing to worry about with Kyrie is age, one, and two, it still takes about a year for players to become themselves again after these types of injuries. So even though he might come back, he might not be the Kyrie that we're used to immediately. So Dallas has a lot of things to ponder since that injury with Kyrie. That kind of foiled all their plans. Because if he would have played and they would have kept the team together and had all their bigs back with PJ Washington and Gafford, they were going to be a problem in the playoffs, man. But now we have to see if they can age gracefully for next year and still be a good team. They have all the pieces if healthy. People are saying that Ja Morant might be a Mavericks player next year. I'm hearing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis moved on from them. But let's move into the games this weekend. The first one I want to talk to you about, man, was I disappointed holding that Celtics minus 10.5 on, what was that, Thursday night?
You got caught with that? I got by. I had the 9.5. And
man, yeah, that one hurt me. But let's look ahead to this series. Let me refresh my roto grinders. Tatum's going to miss again tonight, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and Jaylen Brown's on the thing. I'm not getting involved in this game right now. Do you think they rest both Holiday, Brown, and Tatum, and just? I
think that the Celtics going to punt this game. I like the Mavericks first half of this game, and I like the Mavericks. I like the Mavericks for sure first half money line, and I might put something on for the game money line. They very well might win this game. It kind of seems like from the line that they're telling you that the Celtics aren't going to be at full strength. I
mean, Magic have won both first halves, and the first half money line came home in game one, and they lost by more points than they did in game two. So first half might be the way to look.
the last three trips to Orlando for no, excuse me, the last four trips for Orlando. For the Celtics to Orlando, they've lost. So they don't. Orlando has a lot of confidence, and when they face Boston at home, they've beaten them with their full stacked team four straight times in Orlando. So as I said, I'll be playing the Magic for sure. First half money line, and I'll probably take the Magic plus the points just in case we get a situation like OKC in Memphis last night where the better team kind of locks in at the end of the game and is able to get it done. I think it's going to be very close, but I would not be surprised if Magic win this game straight out money line for the game as well.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about him yet, but Paulo Banchero definitely having a coming out party in this series. And if you're a Magic fan, even though you're most likely going to have your season ended at the end of this series, I think you have a lot to look forward to. And to me, the easiest thing to find in the NBA is scoring and shooting. So if you're in the spot where the Magic are in, you have your main character, Paulo, to build around. Franz, you want him to be your number 3 option, not your number 2 like he currently is. And I think you can do a good job there. But the defense is there. And when Jaylen Suggs gets back to this team, you have to be really excited because, boy, if it was Jaylen Suggs and not Corey Joseph on that starting lineup tonight, I think it would be a lot different. Let's talk about a series
that wouldn't even been in that position if Jaylen Suggs plays, because Jaylen Suggs is one of those guys that during the regular season, he's a winner. He knows how to get wins that they're going to need for later with that one. And just real quick about it, it's funny that you said that about my guy, Franz Wagner. I followed him and his brother Mo at Michigan. I bet a lot of them in college. Franz Wagner is a really good player, but he's in that same spot that we had with Gordon Hayward, where he's a good player, but he's not great. He's good, but he's
right, which is why I want him as my number 3, and I'm happy.
Exactly.
Number two, not so happy.
Yep, I agree.
All right, a series that I struggled with, man, because Ski and I came on here last week, and we really liked Milwaukee. And not only have they lost, these games haven't been close. I know that Milwaukee has made certain pushes here and there, but this really comes down to bad front office decisions. And I think that Doc Rivers was a great coach in 2009. I don't think that his style works in 2025. And I think you're seeing it here because I don't think Indiana's that much better than what they showed against Milwaukee. But I do think that Rick Carlisle has been doing excellent work there. And I don't think that Doc Rivers has had the proper responses. But, the Bucks, as bad as they look, they're laying 5 here tonight. So obviously the odds makers in the market are putting a lot into that home court advantage, right? Because what was the game? But Bucks were plus 4.5 in game 2. Now they're minus 5.5. I mean, it's a 10-point shift here. I don't think home court's worth that much. But what do you think here, man? Bucks down 0-2. Do we hit them first half that we love to do? Teams down 0-2, their first game at home, we take the first half. Do we play the full game, or is this one over and we get a whole summer of Kendrick Perkins and Malika are wondering where Giannis ends up next year? What do you think happens here when the Pacers take on the Bucks?
I think that that's where it's headed. I just feel like this just is a horrible matchup for the Bucks. Like, out of all the teams that they could have gotten the East, they would have much rather played half of that side instead of the Pacers. The Pacers just own them. I don't know why. They just don't play them well. And they took them out of the playoffs last year. They took them out in the tournament. It's just, for some reason, Carlisle has figured them out. And the Pacers are hitting on the right strides at the right time. So they're 9-1 in their last 10 games straight up. Another team, they made a real deep run last year in the playoffs, and everybody kind of just looked at it as, well, it's the Pacers. But it seems like maybe they were focused for getting back in the playoffs this year because they played really well during the playoffs. We forget about Pascal Siakam as a world champion that was one of the best players on the court when they won the championship for Toronto. Definitely was one of the reasons why they won right there with Kawhi Leonard. So we forget about he can go get a basket when they need it. We forget that Hallie, even though he's hated and he was rated as the most overrated player, he's made the Olympic team, and he does a really good job of running that fast-paced offense they like to run. You know, it's few players that can play fast and smart at the same time. He continues to do that. Great pace without turning the ball over. Efficiency from their surrounding parts. They just pretty much stayed packed and kept the same guys from last year. And their bench is really good, man. Some really good players over there. I'm a huge fan of Obi Toppin. It seems like I bet him every playoff game to go over his number, and he never lets me down. So that's what I'll probably be looking toward in this game. I'll probably be looking towards Nesmith, Aaron Nesmith going over on his points because he's been really shooting the ball well. He's only like at 10.5, and he's getting a lot of looks from the three-point line. I'm also going to be definitely looking towards my guy Obi Toppin going over. I'm sure it's a short number. Obi Toppin and Nembhard are really two underrated players that people pay no attention to, man. And Nembhard, I wanted him to come to the Rockets instead of Van Fleet and be the starting point guard. I wanted him. I also wanted Brunson. I tweeted out about both those guys when they came up as free agents, and I'm sure people just like, oh, Five start talking crazy again. But Nembhard can play, bro. Like, he's a really solid player right next to Halliburton because he's another guy who's a combo guard. He's playing off the ball, but at the heart, he's a true point guard. So two really good decision makers in the backcourt over there. I like the Pacers probably tonight with the points, bro. I would not be surprised if the Pacers kind of led to the Bucks and showed them that you guys don't belong with us right now. The Bucks are very reliant on Dame Lillard's points and his ability to make big baskets in these type of games. That's why they brought him over there. And no matter what he tries to do, there's no way he's going to be up to speed after being out this long and dealing with the illness that he had with the clots, because I'm sure he couldn't practice. They were in his lungs, you know. So were they in his lungs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and that's from flying a lot. That's where that comes from. So for me, I'm looking toward the props. I'll go with Nembhard to go over 10 points, Nesmith to go over 10 points, and I'll probably look at Toppin. I don't see his number right now. It's usually about 8.5. I'll probably go for the three others for the Pacers to go over. But if I was going to play a side, I actually think the Pacers can go in Milwaukee and win.
All right. Not doing the game 3 zigzag there. 5-star, if you turned on ESPN, you would think this was the only series going on. You turn on ESPN, you wouldn't know that there was other playoffs going on. And everyone wants to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and now they're heading to Minnesota. I want to blame the officiating, right? Because I made the joke about sports entertainment, right, happening tonight. Not a surprise that a Lakers playoff game is the same weekend as WrestleMania. But to be fair, the Lakers simply beat that team, and the foul disparity wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. Now it's a game 3 tonight. The league doesn't need to rig it because they can just rig game 4 however they want. Right? So they can just let whatever happens tonight. Wolves are laying 3. The Wolves shot way above what they normally do in game 1. Then they shot below what they normally do in game 3. If they just have an average shooting night from behind the arc, you would think they could win. You think they're going to be fired up. However, this is a veteran Lakers team. And boy, as much as I thought it was going to be a terrible hire, you got to give JJ Redick for making the constant adjustments. And it's not just on offense, right? Because I was laughing. I go, how could this guy ever teach anyone about defense? Right? Right? Like they're going to look at his tape like, you're going to tell me about playing defense? Right. But he made the proper adjustments in game 2 on the defensive end to really slow down the Timberwolves. So I'll take the L there. He's proven to be an excellent coach. And, those podcaster turned coach jokes that have turned around to bite me in the butt. I'm not sure where to go on this game tonight, 5-star. I think that you can make credible arguments for both sides. I would lean the Wolves because, we talked about home court advantage means so much. But against a veteran Lakers team, I don't think there's a team that's going to be, less rattled by being on the road. I think the Lakers are built to compete in a hostile environment. What do you think about tonight's game with the Timberwolves?
like you said, it's all about the NBA. If the refs allow them to play and don't get involved, and it's just a game that they call it evenly on both sides, then Minnesota will win this game going away. The Lakers just aren't a good road team. They're under 500 on the road, which is usually a bad sign for what's considered a good team, because good
Mhm.
teams have winning records on the road, including my Rockets. So I don't know why people would even think that the Lakers were going to go on the road tonight. Now, maybe game four, it would make sense, but they have a horrible history in Minnesota. They've lost like the last 5 times they went to Minnesota,
They're
man.
2-14 in their last
Yeah,
16 trips to
yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah. That's what I'm saying, because we know Ant Edwards is exactly what you want as your star player as a young boy. He's an asshole. He's a dog. So he's automatically hyped anytime he sees the Lakers jersey pull up. Like, oh, okay, the Lakers coming to town. Let me beat that ass. So I think that we see a really good performance from Minnesota this game. I think last game they kind of just was like, we did what we needed to do. We came and got, the road win. These guys are, came out hype. They got it. It's cool. Let's sit back and let's just wait for it to go home. Now they just got to defend home court advantage and they win the series. And I think they very much well can. If you remember, the same type of thing happened with Phoenix, where they stole one on the road and everybody was like, oh, Phoenix will go to Minnesota and win, and they never did. They went to Minnesota and lost twice, and I think that this could happen this time as well, because Minnesota just didn't perform as well in the regular season as they have in the past. They were still good, 50 wins, but it just was a really competitive West, as it always is. But they have solid pieces that you want for the playoffs. Anthony Edwards, um,
Eastern Side Beats. AB, spin that bitch. Eastern Side Beats. AB, spin that bitch.
This one's a tough one, man. I'd probably go with the Heat. Usually come out with a great game plan, because Spoelstra is that guy when it comes to X's and O's. Early tip. So I'll probably play the Heat first quarter on this one, Heat first half, but I will not be playing the whole game as things keep going and keep moving. The efficiency of the Cavs offense just outlast the Heat, who are a really scrappy team, play good, have a solid game plan, but offense just comes hard for them. Like if
Mhm.
Tyler Hero is pretty much their only offensive piece, Bam is cool, but he's off and on with his jumper, and he doesn't have a back to the basket type of game. His game is pretty much a stretch five, stretch four. Khalil Ware is going to be a star for them. They just got to learn how to use him right because he does have a back to the basket game. They need to start thinking about running a high low. And when they put Bam at that elbow, instead of him shooting it, throw it down to Khalil Ware on the mismatch and he'll get a dunk over and over. But for some reason, when they get to the elbow, every time Bam either shoots it or Hero comes across on the pick and goes to work on his guy on a switch. Only thing I could trust right now in this series is first of all, Tyler Hero to go over on his points. He seems like he's on a mission. I was saying he seen Cooper Flag and was like, "Hey, you guys forgetting about me? I'm the greatest white American in
Right.
basketball, right?" Because we forget about Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is a hell of a player, man. So even as a kid, remember his rookie year, he was showing up really big for them in the bubble. I think Tyler Hero goes over 25 points. That was the number I saw, like 24 and a half, 25. I think he gets 30 in this game because he has to. If he's not scoring, where are they going to get the points from to keep up with a team so efficient like the Cavs are? Cavs, Ty Jerome. I just tweeted out he's so unlikable, and he's unlikable because I was fading his ass, and he was tearing my ass up. Ty Jerome is a hooper. He's been a hooper. He was a hooper at Virginia, won a national championship, dealt with some injuries. Now he's back in the league, man, and he's a really good backup point guard that gives them some really good minutes. A lot of times, Cavs bench extends the lead on teams. So that's something to watch. This Ty Jerome, his number might be a little inflated right now. If you can get it under 10, I'd take the over on that. But for sure, I'll be playing Tyler Hero, and I'll be playing the Heat first quarter and first half on this one.
All right, 5-star. I almost wanted to take this one up. We'll do it for any fans we have out in Oklahoma City or Memphis, mainly probably Oklahoma City. To me, this is I'm not getting involved in this game. 14 seems about right. I mean, break it down real quick. I'll be right back. I'm not too excited about this game.
Yeah, Lou Dort hurt Ja Morant. Lou Dort is everything that people say that Amen Thompson is. uh, he always gets on the guys and hurts them. And, he was able to take out Ja last night after Memphis was playing a really solid game. I don't know if Ja's going to play or not. I don't know the extremes of the injury. I just caught that he left the game early. I didn't find out like what the exact injury was. And when Spread comes back, I'll get him to clarify that for me. But as far as in terms of this game and this series, it's over. The Thunder are going to sweep the Grizzlies. You can tell they already have it on their mind. Why would the Grizzlies want to get on a flight and go back to Oklahoma City where it's not much to do? Because if you're not tied in Oklahoma City, you don't want to go out because you will get robbed, you will get jacked, you will get hurt. Shout out my homie Junie. I done ran around Oklahoma City, so I know how it is. It's one of the uh, more it's more like Memphis than you think. So it's not a lot to do in Oklahoma City. So I don't think that Grizzlies want to take that flight back to Oklahoma. I think that they laid down this game, and I think that the end of a really weird year for Memphis comes to an end. I was saying didn't know the severity of Ja's injury. I just know that Lou Dort got him. Lou Dort's got a lot of guys, and now Ja's a victim. Is he going to play or is he out for sure?
I'm checking right now. Sports Illustrated does not think that he's going to play.
That changed everything. Memphis had complete control of that game. And
Yeah.
shout out Scottie Pippen Jr. He's been balling his ass off. I had him go over 12 and a half during that game. I think he had like 28 or something. So this just a series that we know it's just a matter of time, and I think it ends. I think the Thunder want to sweep the Grizzlies really bad. And I think that they get it done. I'm not playing a side, but if I would play Thunder because that minus 14 is saying that they feel like the Grizzlies are about to lay it down.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think they want the season to be over, and hopefully
They gotta
this
go
and
get a coach. They have to figure out what
bro,
they're gonna do with
why do
jobs.
you fire your coach at that point? I mean, it's just like
So-
it's just ridiculous. If you made it
Them
that far,
and Denver,
wait till the
bro.
offseason. And they got rid of all their assistants too. I don't even know.
You got rid of Taylor Jenkins, who's an awesome coach, and you got an idiot on X, of course, coming at me when I said this is really silly for the Grizzlies to fire Taylor Jenkins. This guy helped build that roster. People don't understand unless they really watch basketball. Taylor Jenkins, most of those guys, he was their summer league coach, man. That's where he comes from. He was a summer league guy, man. He worked his way through that organization, was a big voice in that organization, and whoever undercut him, whether it was Jared Jackson, they're wrong.
I was reading it was Ja.
Yeah, but the problem is,
and I think they're going to fire him and then move off Ja this offseason.
And then you're going to trade Ja. So now you've gotten rid of a really good coach who bleeds blue and gold. He loves Memphis and was, trying to give him his all. And he was the only one being able to get those guys motivated. Took them so much farther earlier than they were supposed to. And now it's just like you piss off a star player. And, of course, the star player is going to always win. Sometimes it works out, like with Magic when the Lakers took his side against the OG that he got fired. What was that guy's name? I can't remember. It was so many years ago.
Paul Westphal.
But Pat Riley ended up replacing.
You like that knowledge? What you know about that Paul Westphal drop right
there? Paul Westphal. I know you had it. That's why I called it out to you. I know you had it stored away. I got it stored away from watching Showtime. But yeah, Paul Westphal, man. So they replaced him, and it worked out for the Lakers when they went with the Stars' opinion. We'll see if it goes with Memphis. I don't think Ja's going to stay there. Memphis is just a weird-ass franchise.
I think he's another one just like Trey. He's got to be the number 2. I think for Ja to find playoff success, he needs to go somewhere where he can supplement a true top 5 player, because I just don't see him getting there. I know he was a couple years ago, and he was in the MVP running the year. He got the most improved player, but I want to see him next to like a Giannis or a Cade or a Paulo, where he could supplement and not be forced to do everything, because I think that they fall into the Ja Morant show trap too often, and I wouldn't want to do it. Look at Kyrie Irving.
I don't know
how much different he looks as a 1 than a 2.
Another thing too, I think he beat Jenkins to the punch. He beat Taylor Jenkins to the punch, but in the end, Memphis is going to lose both ways around, because I think he's going to get moved in the offseason. I'm hearing a lot of talk about him coming to LA to the Clippers. I'm hearing some Mavericks. Of course, people saying some Houston too, because him and Jaylen Green are real tight and want to play together. They've been friends a long time. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind him in Houston. I think he fits us good because he's a dog.
I think Udoka could coach him properly. But my also guess is that he would talk to him before they make that trade and let him know, hey, you're coming in here and it's not the Ja Morant show anymore. And we're not running pick and rolls for you the whole game. You're going to be involved in the offense, but you're going to move off ball and cut and develop your game and not just be a pick and roll merchant. So let's see what happens with Memphis there. But I think, with Ja and Trey, I'd be excited to see them shake up and find some new scenery there. I
was just saying, though, that I think that regardless, I think that Jenkins was a Pippin's guy. We were noticing that he was playing Pippen a lot more than Ja. It's been a lot of.
I think he does what he asked.
Yeah, a lot of 4 quarters where Ja was on the bench and Pippen was in the game, taking the game home. So I think that Ja, as I was saying, beat him to the punch and got him fired first. But at the end of the day, Memphis is still going to lose because Pippen's going to still end up being their point guard. But now you don't have your coach or your star player.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the main event for Saturday night. And I, for one, am looking forward to this game. And this is another one that I'm not sure how to handicap 5-star. After game 1, I thought, boy, this Warriors experience is going to be too much. But Houston bounced right back. And I know that Jimmy is probably going to be out there. But if he's not 100%, man, I mean, this Warriors team doesn't have a lot of depth. But the other thing that's going in the Warriors' favor is that Chase Center gets rocking. Talk about disparity in home court advantages, right? I mean, Houston was rocking for their first 2 games, and they definitely took some of that energy in game 2 and really used it to establish that big lead and pull that game out. Now they got to go. Not only are they not going to get the boost from their crowd, they're going to be working against it here. Warriors laying 2.5 here. Seems like an easy bet until you consider if Jimmy's not out there or if he's not 100%. Man, those Kuminga minutes were terrible. There's some disconnect there, and we talk about players moving on. He needs a change of scenery. He's not fitting in this Warriors system, and there's a disconnect between him and Steve Kerr. And I think he's a talented kid. Bring him to Sacramento. Let us rehab him. But if Butler's not 100%, man, the Rockets could steal this. If he is, I would be on the Warriors side. Sorry, Houston fans. I know we got a lot of Houston fans of the wagering world. I would be on the Warriors side if I knew he was 100%, but I can't think that he is. And he's going to say that he's fine no matter what, so I don't think you're going to know until that first quarter of the game. What do you think about this game, and how do you view your team's chances to go into Golden State and really make a statement to the NBA that, yes, we are the number 2 seed, and yes, you guys did improperly look over us when you're doing all your playoff previews?
The Rockets are going to go into game 3 and win this game. The Rockets are the better team in this series, and now with the Butler injury, you really see it. You got a lot of issues with that Warriors roster. They just aren't as talented as Houston from 1 to 8. You need a Steph Curry 30-point, 40-point game just for the Warriors games to be close with the Rockets at this point, especially without Butler. And then even if Jimmy Butler comes back, now that he's hurt, how effective is he going to be? I just think that game 2 gave the Rockets a lot of confidence. Game 1, it was their first time in the playoffs. They were a little shaken up. Steph Curry was hitting anything that he threw up in the air like he always does in Houston. So they were dealing with that. I know the Warriors are a prideful team, but they're also an older team, man. And people have to realize that age does make a difference in this sport. Like, you got Jimmy Butler's 35 or so. You got Steph like 37. Draymond got to be about 37. You know, these guys are getting long in the tooth, and I don't see Steve Kerr staying up too much longer. I think Steve Kerr is going to move on and do the Phil Jackson real soon, because he's shown a prevalence for only dealing with vets and not willing to develop the young talent. A lot of people don't understand it. That's why the GM left. He was a great GM. He's on ESPN talking now because him and Steve Kerr kept butting heads over Kerr not wanting to develop and play his draft picks. Guys like Poole, guys like Kuminga that are really good.
And you know what the other big thing in that, as a NorCal guy, I can tell you, he didn't want to pay Clay or Dre.
No,
and he knew that Steph and Steve wouldn't allow them to.
Yep.
So he said, well, I'm out of here because this isn't my team anymore. The smart thing to do, Bill Walsh, Bill Belichick, let's move on from him a year early.
Yeah.
But, you know, he saw the right, and he said, these guys aren't worth the money. And I would even say in Dallas that Clay hasn't been worth the money. He's been a good contributor, but he's only one side of the ball right now. And I can find guys that just shoot threes and don't do anything else. Yeah, that's one of the easiest things to find.
Yeah, the Warriors, one day they're going to do a documentary about it. I already heard this been in the works, and they say they're going to show all the stuff that really was going on behind the scenes. And
there's a lot of covering up for Draymond. That
covering up for Draymond. Draymond is a horrible dude. He's a bad teammate. He's a self-centered guy. It's my way or the highway, but he's one of those dudes who are smart enough to kiss up to the right people. So he has the owner, Joe Lacob, loves him, and that's all that you need. Long as you
I think the other thing is Kerr knew my guys are too chill. Steph and Clay are too chill. We need a dude out there that's going to cause some fights and bring some energy, right? And get that tension on the court.
Mark Jackson is the one who came up with, let's go get Draymond and bring him to do this and be my point forward. And let's move off of, what's my guy's name? Who's
David Lee.
David Lee.
Yeah. He married Wozniacki. Yeah,
he married Wozniacki. David Lee was a great player at that time in the league. And he was like, nah, we're going to go with this young boy. He's aggressive. We can run this style. And then when Kerr got there, Mark Jackson had already developed with Draymond. You're the dog of this team. you're the physical force of this team. And Draymond and Steph took it to another level, And
Yeah.
Steve Kerr has done a really good job with developing this team, but I don't like some things about Steve Kerr. He's becoming the old get off my lawn dude. His age is starting to show it. I didn't think he was going to age like he has the last 3 to 4 years with his way of coaching and the way that he looks at things. When Jordan Poole had that fight with Draymond, they were either supposed to fix that shit or ship Draymond. It was no way. Now they've ruined their franchise because Jordan Poole was necessary. They won the championship as Jordan Poole being the second best player on that team. A lot of people don't remember that. If Jordan Poole stays in Golden State, it's his team right now. He was playing with that type of confidence there, and he was learning that much from Steph. They didn't like how cocky and arrogant he was, but that comes with becoming a good player. So they put him in his place because he wouldn't conform and sent him to Washington and made him the problem because Kerr comes from that old school Jordan Chicago Bulls belief that the veterans run everything. We don't need kids. We don't play with young boys. So instead of him defending this kid and saying, Draymond, you wrong as hell for hitting this kid, man. Y'all just playing basketball. He talking shit. Yeah, talk shit back to him. Don't put your hands on him. Instead, he sided with Draymond and was like, yeah, teach this kid something because he got his ass socked in the eye by Michael Jordan.
By Jordan,
and thinks that, that's just how it goes. If he's not tough enough to deal with it, so be it. And Poole was not, and you remember when Poole tried to stay, but it was uncomfortable. You could tell he was not messing with Draymond Green. He wouldn't shake his hands out in no huddles. He wouldn't look at him. He wouldn't talk to him. And can you blame him? Like, I'm looking at you as a vet. It's my old head, my OG. We playing basketball, man, and I'm talking shit, and I'm doing well. We won a championship. Of course, I'm feeling myself a little bit, but you gonna hit me, man? You gonna punch me? And I don't like Draymond because he's one of those guys who play tough. I met Draymond before at Meek Mill's private birthday party. Him and the Morris twins were together, and they hung out with me and my homeboy Poncho, who's probably watching the show. Shout out Poncho out in Dallas. They hung out with us for about 15, 20 minutes talking up. This guy's the nicest guy you want to meet. You know what I mean? Like, he's a nice guy. And I've also heard from my circles of guys who are in the NBA and around it that a lot of dudes who don't like the way that Draymond does shit on the court have approached him off the court. Like, what's up, bro? Like, you ready to throw some hands? And every time Draymond is responded with, man, it's just basketball. You tripping, bro. This is basketball. So you not even like that. And it's just funny that his best friend LeBron, I didn't even talk about that. Did you see Kevin Gates sitting at the game? So Kevin Gates is a rapper from Louisiana. I don't know if you heard him or not. He's kind of like a.
I've heard the name. I don't think I know the songs.
He had like one hit. I got 2 phones, and he's one of those guys that doesn't conform, since that's the theme of the show. So he don't conform. He does what he wants to do. So he's not gonna ever be a big rapper, but he said something on social media about LeBron saying that he doesn't like the way LeBron's wife looks at him. Like, she doesn't look like she cares about him too much. Looks like she's always mad at him. LeBron answered with like a little tweet that said, kings don't talk to peasants, with his wife smiling at him, right? Shows you what type of dude that LeBron is, because you watch the social media and know that, right? Here comes this kid. He says, you know what? He went and did all that shit to Stephen A. Old Kevin Gates from Louisiana like me, raised with this type of mentality. We bully bullies. So he's like, okay, LeBron, you ran up on Stephen A. Smith, who's half your age, 2 feet shorter than you, and 150 pounds lighter than you, pressing him. I'm coming to sit at the game on the floor. Since you said that you don't like what I said about you and your wife, LeBron didn't even look his way. He's sitting on the floor, spread with his shirt open, with all these chains on, with his girl in his lap, pretty much like some LeBron, I dare you to say something to me. LeBron didn't even look his way. See, and that's the type of stuff that I'm talking about that I dislike so much. It irks me when I see guys like LeBron and like Draymond who are fake bullies, fake tough guys. You know who to pick on. You know who to try. I don't like that shit. So LeBron kind of got checked by Kevin Gates on that situation, but the Warriors made a horrible decision by trusting Draymond as the face of that franchise. How the hell you gonna trust somebody who averages more fouls than points per game?
Yeah, and our guy Coach Goodman's been saying it for years. You
He
know,
hates
as
him.
good
He's
as
trying to get rid of
well,
Draymond.
it's so hard. You know, they want to complain about Kerr's schemes, but it's so hard when you got to play 4-on-5.
Before we get out this game, I want to ask you something too, real quick, Spread. Why are the Warrior fans crying like Amen Thompson tried to hurt Jimmy Butler?
And the funniest thing is, I saw a tweet. They've been, excusing Draymond's behaviors for the last 10 years, and now they're going to act like they're the moral regulators of physicality in basketball. Draymond has got away with more stuff, and that's fine. I don't even care, right? It's a sport. Do whatever you want to win. But you can't turn around and complain when he's always punching people, falling into people's legs. He's doing every dirty trick in the book. And now you're going to call out Amen. Unbelievable.
And Amen Thompson, the only thing he did, he shot the ball. And as you know, Amen's not, if you watch him as much as I do, he follows all his shots up because he's a hustle player, 1 and 2. He know he doesn't, at this time in his career, he doesn't shoot that good. So he's trying to follow up a miss. Trips over Adams' back foot, and then Draymond kind of gives him an arm because he's searching for him to box out. And he just lost balance, man, and fell forward. And I'm like, you think this guy's going to take a knee to the head just to take, but like, yeah, let me just hit him in the knee with my head. That'll teach him. that'll take him out. It's just weird that they're crying about that. And they're making excuses for Draymond. And I sent the video of Draymond, all of the fouls he did to one guy who was like, Draymond has never done anything like that. I showed all the videos. He said, well, no one that Draymond ever did these things to missed any time. I said, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I specifically remember him falling on Sabonis during our series and how upset Kings fans were about that.
Stomped him. He A-Town stomped him, like right in the chest. I've never seen anything like that on the basketball court. The type of stuff he did to Nurkic, the type of stuff that he does that he did to LeBron as well. But the funny thing is, he's met his match with the Rockets this year. Ime Udoka, already that's his style because he comes from being that type of player himself. The only reason he lasted in the league and was with the Spurs is he was gritty and he was grimy. So he coaches his team to be that way. Like, we're about to irritate people. We're about to get under their skin. And if they want to fight, we're here for a fight. Sagoon has no fear of Draymond. He dunked on him with one of the best dunks of the season. He's been anything within the whistle that he can get away with on Draymond, he's doing it back to him. Draymond's getting ticked too because he can't get under his skin. With that said, I just think that the Rockets have figured out these old guys, and they figured out that, 1, stop Steph Curry and we okay. 2, these dudes can't stop us from getting on the boards. They don't have anyone who can stop us from getting on the glass. I know exactly what the Warriors are going to try to do this game. They're going to try to play a lot more Quentin Post and let him shoot threes because the Rockets are giving him that, and he's been hitting them. So they're going to try to shoot threes and win by shooting a lot of three-pointers, but they better hope that the threes are falling because the Rockets just are a better team, and they're going to win the series.
One thing to note, too, about that Butler injury, Curry had the same type of injury, and it took him a couple games to really get back to form. So even if Butler's out there, if he's not the same guy that he was in game 1, I think the Warriors could be in for some trouble. So we'll see how that one turns out tomorrow night. The only thing keeping me off, man, that Chase Center is going to be rocking. And one of the series that I thought was going to be really exciting and going to 7, really, and that was one of the craziest blowouts last night, 5-star. It allowed me to spend more time, reading all the fan bases celebrating that they didn't draft Shedeur, because that game was not worth watching last night. After the first quarter, the Nuggets ran out of gas. They're asking way too much from Jokic. Jokic and Giannis, to me, are the 2 players that have been betrayed by their front offices because they are playing. You have to be like a top 5 player really to have a chance to win the NBA championship, right? Note to Vivek, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis aren't going to get it done. And Jokic and Giannis are giving us those type of performances, and they're getting absolutely nothing from their team. You can see him kind of starting to tire out. Clippers are laying 6 here, and boy, with the way they looked in that game 3, they went from having no home court advantages to one of the biggest home court advantages in the league. The Clippers were rocking. That's probably the best home court advantage I've ever seen them have, as they get their first playoff game in a building that's all their own, and it really felt like it. To me, man, I think the Clippers have a better chance to make the finals than the Lakers. I think the Clippers have the best chance to upset the Thunder out of any team that's currently in the West right now. And this team looks really good. And boy, another thing, maybe you shouldn't fire your coach a week before the season. I mean, I don't understand what they think they're going to get here. If you really had a problem with them, you knew this beforehand. If you had a problem with them, get rid of him last season. Don't wait till the week of the end of the season. And I think they're really paying for it now. And David Adelman might end up being a great coach. But you got to go against Ty Lue and you have a week of experience. It's not fair, man. It reminds me of in boxing or UFC when a fighter, doesn't make weight or drops out and then they grab someone on a week notice. That's how I feel David Adelman's getting done here, because even if he is going to be a great coach, which I hope he is, right? Rick Adelman gives best memories as a Kings fan. So I'm rooting for David Adelman, but I don't think this situation's fair. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers do it again, and then let's reevaluate this one, because Denver's got that great home court advantage. Maybe they can steal, the game 5 and send it back to Los Angeles. But to me, I think the Clippers are going to smoke them again. Do you think the Nuggets can bounce back? Am I being too reactionary to what I saw in game 3?
No, you're not at all. You're in a situation where you got one really great player in Nikola Jokic with not a lot of help. That's basically what it is. His team. I'm not trusting Christian Brown. I'm not trusting off the injured Jamal Murray, who has been a shell of himself since the last injury he had. Not trusting Watson. I'm not trusting none of these guys. Michael Porter Jr. is a three-point specialist, and we already know what Westbrook does. So just a horrible roster construction for the Nuggets. Now probably getting into a situation where I can actually see where Jokic might end up getting traded, because why would he stay in Denver? They got rid of this guy, Mike Malone. I don't think that they contacted Jokic about that. I really don't. I think what happened, Mike Malone is a Virgo like me. We tend to speak our mind and rub people the wrong way with our truths. I would not be surprised if Mike Malone had a meeting with the owner and the GM and cussed out everybody in the room because whatever they said he didn't agree with. And he probably was telling them, like, this is my team. I'm going to do it my way. And I think that it was an immediate emotional response by the owner or the GM. Very silly that I don't understand Taylor Jenkins. So I don't understand firing Mike Malone, who's won a championship with this sorry-ass organization, who sucked ass for so many years. And he's the first coach that was able to get the best out these teams and get them to the finals. It's almost like the league wanted them gone. Like, this guy hates the Lakers. Get rid of him. We're going to try to get the Lakers out of the NBA. Because I can't understand why the heck. When I read it, I had to read it a couple times because I consider Mike Malone a top 5 coach in the NBA. So I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And I was like, they trying to get a championship to the West, to the Lakers or the Clippers or somebody, because this doesn't make sense. And as you said, Adelman's second generation. We know his dad was good, but you're not your dad. Your dad put in a lot of years on the bench and went to the playoffs. You have not. You've been an assistant. This is not the time to make these type of moves, especially when you have the world's who people regard as the world's greatest player on your team. Like, this is not. You figure it out. Like, dude, after the season, your ass is out of here. Do your job. You're paid. See your contract out. But I'm letting you know now, you might as well start looking for another job. But don't fire this guy 2 weeks before the damn playoffs. Just dumb. And then they're wondering why they're getting their asses handed to them by Ty Lue, who's been coaching forever. Shout out my dog Ty Lue, who's been to finals, been in playoff wars forever. And he finally has what he told me when I spoke to him about last year. I saw him, my wife and I, we were in Caesars, and I saw him at Noble, and me and him stepped to the side like we usually do when we see each other, and spoke briefly. And I was like, what's up with next year? He was like, next year, them boys got to be healthy, man. He was like, I'm trying to stress to them that we need to be focused on having a better seed in the playoffs and not always having to go on the road. We got to be healthy. Now you see they are healthy finally. Harden looks like vintage Harden. This guy's 25 plus minus right now. Every game, that's been his average. He's been like plus minus 20 and when he's in the game. So he's playing really well. Ty Lue just knows how to communicate, and he's an ex-player and a guy that's a cool dude to hang around with. So he's able to make Kyrie Leonard and Harden work together. Two guys who do their own thing. You saw, I don't know if you saw one time they were showing the bus pulled up for the Clippers. Everybody got on the bus, and Harden had his own private car, and Kyrie had his own private car, picked them up, and they followed the bus. But they can do that over there when they got a guy like Ty Lue who understands how stuff goes, and he knows how to make it where everybody feels it and everybody gets along and everybody understands their role. Clippers is a really good constructed roster. How about my guy Nick Batum? Batum, bro, he had to play for the Trailblazers back with Clyde Drexler and right, he's been with it seems like Batum been in the league forever, right? Number 88 with Portland, because I remember I used to like him, like he could shoot. Like he's been there forever. I don't know how old he is, but he was 4 out of 6 from 3. When he catches the ball from the corner, it's almost automatic. It doesn't matter if someone's on him or anything. He's so tall, he's just shooting over the top of him. Derrick Jones Jr., really great add-on. Bogdanovich is playing confident. Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn was a great pickup, playing really good defense. So just a good job by the Clippers. As far as in this game, I probably won't be playing it because Denver should bounce back and play better. So I don't like the 6 points. I do think the Clippers win, but it might be a close one.
Yeah, we'll see. But you know, we talked about teams packing it in. That's been the death blow. Denver just kind of realizing this is not our year and we need to make some changes. So if I were to play it, I'd actually play the Clippers, but there's nothing wrong with being judicious this type of year, especially when the live betting is so good.
What about Trae Young to Denver?
He would work. I think he'd be good.
He would work really well, I think.
Yeah. It's just, all right. Let's talk about the Knicks and Pistons, man. I was disappointed last night. I had the Pistons, and the old adage that we love so much about role players playing better at home didn't come true. How disappointing was that, right? Beasley didn't play well. Hardaway got off to a hot start, but he came back to earth, and Tobias Harris didn't play well either. And I feel bad for Cade. Too much of him on the ball, man. There's just too many possessions where they don't have anything else going on. So he's got to go ahead, try and break down the defense himself, and try and get a nice mid-range jumper. But it just felt like it was too much there. And the other thing, man, Towns played out of his mind. And I think that's why New York made the trade for him, is when he does play like that. To me, he was the difference in the game. Big shots when they needed him, and it was a tough matchup because if they put Duran on him, you would see the rest of the guys, Brunson and OG, attack the rim. Then they put Harris on him, and then he can go ahead and just shoot over him without any type. Harris just can't even bother a shot. So, great game by Towns. Great bounce back by a coach that I'm not necessarily high. I say the league passed by Doc Rivers. Same thing for Thibodeau. But they were able to get it done. I'm hoping Detroit bounces back, man, because that's the story I'm rooting for. And I know I should be, New York, Knicks, right? Everyone loves the Knicks. But I'd like to see Detroit bounce back. Do you think they can do it here in Game 4? Do you think these role players can play better at home?
I lost last night with Detroit as well. I took them first half, first quarter, but lost both of those. But I did do well on the props. On the props, I had Cat over 22.5. I hit that. I also had Mikal Bridges over 15.5, and I hit that. And the reason why I knew to take those, I'm really into media coverage on how these kids are going to respond. Everyone has rabbit ears. They all are watching what the sports talk people talk about. All you heard was Cat was not showing up. Karl Anthony Towns has to take more shots. He has to demand the ball. So I knew he was going to get more shots up. So he was an easy cash. And then Mikal Bridges, everyone was talking about, man, he missed so many threes at the end of the game. So I knew that he was going to be a little bit sharper with his shooting that game. So I was able to cash those two. And on the Pistons side, I actually had Hardaway over 9.5 points, and he got that like in the first quarter. So it was a good game for me on the props. As far as in this game that's coming up on Sunday, only side I would play on this one would be Detroit. I think that they're ticked off. I think that their coach is making them feel like they're being, underappreciated, not respected, that the refs in the whole world are against them. And I think that they respond. That was an exciting crowd at Detroit. They missed playoff basketball in that area. They love that young team. The young team plays with a lot of energy and a lot of aggressiveness. So I do think Detroit does get it done in the next game. I think that they'll win this one and tie the series up at 2-2.
All right. Yeah, I thought the Pacers Bucks was going to be the knockdown dragout, but it turns out it could be the Knicks and Pistons. All right, 5-star long show for the people today, but we had a lot to talk about with the NFL draft and the NBA playoffs happening concurrently. But for those who stuck with us, 2 hours in, let's give them some winners. What do you got for us tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna go with tennis, man. Let's go to the tennis world. I got one. We're gonna go to Madrid on a beautiful red clay. I'm going with Donna Vekic to upset Emma Navarro at plus 190. She's 2-0 head to head. Vekic looks like she found her game again in her last match. Emma Navarro is not that good of a real clay player. I know that her dad's tournament he does in Charleston is clay, but it's a different type of clay than the high altitude clay in Madrid. And I just think that Vekic's past history of being able to beat her will shine through it. In fact, she beat her in Charleston on the clay this year as well. So give me Vekic at plus 190 against Emma Navarro. Navarro's a good player. I just think that Vekic steps up in this one. It's a value play, just a bad number on two evenly matched players. And also, we're going to go with, on the men's side, ATP. Two lucky losers are facing off. We're going to roll with Mavericks. He's at minus 125. He's just coming off of winning a lower level 250 tournament where he was able to beat a really good kid in Elmer Moeller, who's on the come up from Germany. Maharek will be facing Abel Diallo. Diallo's a Canadian kid. Decent serve, decent movement. His game isn't ready to play with a guy who plays like Maharek with the ability to stroke that forehand like he does, and also with the ability to protect the serve. So give me minus 125 on Maharek. I think that's a really good number.
All right, I'm going to stick in the association for tonight. It's a tried and true trend, and sometimes NBA playoffs handicapping, we just do the same things. We don't even really look at the tape that much. And I'm going to take the Orlando Magic first half. We're not doing the full games. But the Magic have done really well in the first half against the Celtics in both the games in Boston. Now they're back at home. They're down 0-2. We talked about these fan bases that are going to be a little bit more up for these first-round games, regardless of the circumstances. And just like Detroit, I think Orlando is going to be pretty excited to see their team back playing meaningful basketball. Don't know if I'll get involved in the full game, but give me the Magic first half. I'm getting a half a point, minus 110 at bookmaker. Orlando Magic first half.
All right, we both playing that one, so that's going to be a play from the Wagering world. We're going to go with Orlando first half. And also, I gave you the two tennis matches. We're going with Vekic plus 190, and we're going Maharek minus 125. That's MAJCHRZAK, excuse me, for those who don't understand my pronunciation. All right, man. Been a long show, as you said, but we had a lot to catch up on. Really excited. Second round is today. Let's see if my Shador to the Raiders ends up working out the way that
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
It might not be in the manner that we expected, but that's even more brilliant because you always want to build a good team around young players. And the quarterback's best friend is a running game, and he never had one in Colorado. So maybe with the wisdom of Tom Brady and Pete Carroll, they decided to, hey, let's go grab Genty. They're hating on this kid. He'll be around. Anything for the people spread before we get out of here?
Man, great show today. Glad we got to catch up and talk about all this. Looking forward to our next one next week.
If you were tuned in, hit that like button, guys. I did this for all of the nice people who contacted me on X and wanted to hear our opinions about the draft today. I wasn't going to do a show because, as I said, I'm one of those people that's just about right, man. I hate seeing wrong. I hate ignorance. I hate people who have hateful hearts, man. And X really dragged me down the way that they were doing that kid. Because why are you celebrating somebody that you don't even know having a downfall or having an embarrassing opinion. But what I realized in the world is a lot more bad people than good people, man. And good people like us have to stick together. So, Wagering World, we appreciate you, and we're going to always do it for you. Continue to do you. Never let them make you conform, man. Be you. And if a person can't respect you for who you are as a human being, then that person isn't good enough to be in your circle. I'm going to continue to do it for the underground and for the underdogs. You guys go to www.thewageringworld.com. Get some of this merch we got on today. We got the royal blue hoodie, and we got the four-leaf clover hat. That's my favorite hat right now, is this green Wagering World cap. As always, I dedicate this show to the greatest Houston sports fan that I know, and that's my father, John H. Lindsay, for Spread Astaire on 5-Star in Vegas. We'll be back next week. If you guys are looking for Sino, he's in Louisiana dealing with some family issues the last month or so. He'll be back in Vegas soon, and he'll be right back on the show for sure. Football season, but y'all keep your prayers up for Sino and his family that are dealing with a situation out there in Louisiana. Lost a family member and also dealing with some other things with some health. So prayers up for my little brother Sino and his family. This is the Wagering World.